Just you, me, and the odds. We stuck together, we two peas in a pod. You dealt a bad hand, I'm there seizing the cards. We'll never be separated till we see in the gods.
Welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today I have something very exciting for you. It is what I call brute force farming. And this is a way that if you have an inconsistent team, you can still end up reaping all the rewards using all of your keys in Doom Tower. Now, why do we want to do this? The sets in Doom Tower, some of them are very good. Specifically, the one for the Dark Fae. It's called Lethal. And you get to ignore 25% of the enemy defense, which is the same as a Savage set. But on top of that, you also get 10% crit rate. Now, to get a good set, you're going to have to run the Dark Fae a lot. You're going to have to collect, the rewards off of every key that you can. And it's really hard to do that with her because she is very RNG heavy. She's going to, steal your champions. She's going to steal another champion. Sometimes you're not going to trigger what you need to trigger in order to make that run happen and make that run a success. There are some comps out there that probably are 100% or close to it, but unfortunately, they're very, very difficult to build and quite often require you to build a specific champion and put books into them. For instance, I have never built Herndig. I think he's a great champion, but I've already got people who fill the role that he usually fills in most scenarios. I still might end up building him for the Dark Fae, but as of right now, I didn't want to build a champion just for that. So I went with, it was actually Hell Hades comp. So the comp that I went with is actually Hell Hades comp, and it is where you use Exemplar or another freeze champion to land a freeze on your own team. And then right off the bat, Dark Elhain's going to go and wipe the mirror copies that the Dark Fae has taken of you. And the reason this is not 100% right now, well, one large part is I'm using a 4-star level 25 Exemplar. I don't want to build a champion for this role. It doesn't mean that I won't eventually, but I really don't want to do that at this time. I've got other champions that I want to build instead. So Exemplar being that weak when you're going through the waves, as you'll see, she can wipe. She gets hit one time. She's going down. So most of the time our turn meter control is enough. And but once in a while it's not. Well, I don't want to waste those keys and come back and be like, oh man, I had bad RNG. Out of the 10 keys that I was just running, I still have 6 left, or I still have 8 left. So what I want to see is that I set this to run, and after a certain amount of time I come back and all of the keys have been used. I've gotten the fragments for all the gear, and I'm done for the day. That's the way I would like to do it. You can also run this overnight as well. If you aren't planning on running overnight an actual dungeon, like, you're not going to run the dragon or something overnight, then this could actually be a great time to do this as well. If you have a long run that rarely wins, you could run it over the entire course of the night. And by the time you wake up, you're probably going to have used all your keys. So the way that we do this, we start the battle and then we go to any auto clicker. In this case, I'm using RSL Helper, and I'm just going to set that to use, run infinitely. So they're just going to keep running it until all the keys are gone, and then it's just not going to let us run it anymore. So this is brute force farming. This is where you run through, and if you lose, it's okay. It's just going to start it again. And then, it'll just keep doing that until all the keys are used up. Here in this run is where we sometimes wipe, or at least the first place that we sometimes wipe. We've got that Lua in the corner there. Looks like we're probably going to take her out this time before she attacks. But if she does get an attack off, she's going to take out Exemplar. Good for us. It actually worked, and we took care of it. But now we're going to go through these guys. Could one of them put up block damage or, do something to take out Exemplar? Of course, that could still happen. But I've noticed it's pretty much been when Lua attacks. So we're getting through it again here. And the more of those that come down, the more likely a lure is going to hit each champion with their turn meter control. So here is where they froze our champion, and we then automatically get to wipe the mirror copies with Dark Elhane's passive. So, and now it's all about controlling the turn meter. She may get a turn, and when she does, she's actually going to take Exemplar out. But at this point, that's fine. I actually would prefer she get taken out at this point because it's just going to speed up the run. I don't have any masteries on her. She doesn't have War Master. She doesn't have anything to create damage. So her being there is just a liability. Now at this point, it's pretty well under control. Dark Elhane does need to get that slow on, which she did. Now that slow's up, I don't think the Dark Fae can get another turn. This will actually take a while, so I'll kind of skip towards the end of it so that you can see what RSL Helper will do next. But again, you don't have to use RSL Helper. You can use any auto clicker. For a very long time, I believe it was Auto Hotkey, and that just simply restarts runs. That's all it does. It doesn't do any other fancy stuff. But that's all you would need for a scenario like this. I believe Chosen has a very old video on how to use that auto clicker. RSL Helper can be a little difficult to use at first when you're first trying to figure it out, because there's just so many options and so many cool things you can do on it. I also don't know how long RSL Helper will last. I believe it's a Russian content creator that created it. And Plarium has banned Russian content creators right now. So at least at the making of this video. Yeah, I don't know if the Russian players will ever be back. If they are, then this tool will probably keep being updated. But if they really are banned for life, then he might stop updating this. So if that happens, well, I'll have to find a different auto clicker to use. So I skipped ahead to the end here. The other way we could have wiped is if Dark Elhane had not put the slow on. Every once in a while, she doesn't. It's not 100% chance to do it. So if she hadn't put that on by like her second time using the skill, then the Dark Fae will just go too fast and she'd end up beating us. But here the round ended, and now it's going to start again on its own like it did just right here. And then this time, if we didn't win, it would go ahead and restart for us. So, and the faster you don't win, the faster it restarts. Like you aren't running the full 7 minutes. So it's a longer run. It's something I like to, maybe set, when I'm going to work, or, if I've got, a break in the evening where I can set it up real quick before dinner and let it run, for a couple hours while I'm hanging out with my family. That is, that's kind of the beauty of this concept. Now, this still works if it's shorter runs. It just works faster. And this can work with really long runs too. If you've got something that takes a half hour to complete and you need it, to complete it, if you run that overnight, let's say you sleep for 8 hours, that gives you 16 runs. Hopefully, if it's a half hour, it's not like a 1 in 10 chance of completion. But if you've got, let's say you've got a run that fails, 1 out of 10 times or something like that. So in that case, you could actually run it overnight and you're not going to end up with, extra keys left over at the end, in the morning and saying to yourself, wow, I've got 2 runs. That's an hour that I have to run this now. It would just be done and over with. So that's brute force farming. Here we are again, probably going to beat it again. But since she has not landed the slow, here's a perfect example. Now we wiped, and RSL Helper is going to go ahead and start it up again for me. So here we are. And luckily, when that happens, if you die early enough, which is when you're going to die in this comp, it actually, it restarts it at that point. So maybe we were 3 minutes in or 3.5 minutes in. And that's okay. It's okay to have it restart at that point. That way we can actually get more runs in that amount of time. I'll cover this comp a little bit real quick. I'm not going to get into all the details, but if you are planning on running this comp, what I would do is go watch Hell Hades' video on it. He uses Armiger instead of one of the allures, and I think he still uses Deacon and still uses Exemplar, and of course he uses Dark Alhain. So, but again, it does not have to be Exemplar. And what you want to do is block out whatever skills Exemplar uses that freezes, because even though you've got them blocked out, the mirror copies won't. So you have no chance of her freezing the enemy and then having them attack you instead. So that's the key to this comp, making sure that you've blocked out hers, so there when she attacked without using that. What you need is a champion who is going to use that freeze skill first, and if their AI prioritizes a different move than that, then this comp isn't going to work either. So you do want it to be someone like Exemplar. This is interesting. We've lost Deacon, and we've got Dark Alhain and the 2 allures up. If they can keep the turn meter down by themselves, this still won't be a wipe, but it might be a longer run because, well, we've got the defense down up. It might actually be a faster run because they're probably doing more damage than Deacon does. So this will be interesting, but nope, you need Deacon's turn meter control as well. So there was another wipe that was 2 in a row, and now it's going to start up again for us. So this is the key. The other important things of this is to make sure that your team is up near the speed of the Dark Fae. Preferably they're ahead of it. And the way that I've got it set up to do that is with Deacon doing the turn meter control. I don't like that I have to rely on that. I wish all of these champions were over 250 speed, so that when we go up against the hardest Dark Fae, they're always going first without needing him to do that. But I didn't want to rework every single champion to make that happen. So, and then you can run Dark Alhain as slow as you want, because her move is getting triggered by the freeze, not by her turn coming up. If she's faster, that's great, because she'll get to do that extra move or that special move and put that slow on again. And we're all hoping that that will happen. But if she doesn't get that off and the slow doesn't get on there, that's where the wipes come. So yeah, what did you think? Is this the type of content that you enjoy? Is this going to help you out in your farming of this gear? You can use this, of course, with any of the Doom Tower bosses. It doesn't have to be the Dark Fae. I do recommend when she's in the order to farm her gear, because it's, I mean, heck, it's Savage gear, but better. You're getting the crit rate and you're getting the ignore defense. So eventually, if we run this enough, we're going to end up with some really good kits with that. So, and then, but you know, Bomel's another really good one, and he's another one that's really tough to beat. So if you've got a team that beats him, you know, every, 2 out of 3 tries or something like that, use the brute force method. Scarab boss is another good one to farm. I'm trying to think if there's any other place in the game that I would use it. I wouldn't use it with energy. You want your teams to be 100% on whatever you're farming with the energy. So what do you think? Was this helpful? Does this inspire you to farm the Doom Tower when you wouldn't have before? And specifically, will you farm the Dark Fae now? I'd love to hear in the comments if that's the case. And also, please subscribe to my channel so that you can see more content like this, and hopefully these tips and tricks will help you out. So I'm the Clam Boss, and this is another Raid Shadow Legends video.
Just you, me, and the odds. We stuck together, we 2 peas in a pod. You dealt a bad hand, I'm there seizing the cards. We'll never be separated till we seeing the gods. We've been low together, high forever. Long as we go together, we'll die whenever. Be a light, couldn't let the darkness try you ever. Truth in my word, you I lie to never.